Oh, hey, it is a day 6 of quarantine here in my humble abode. And I figured, let's mess with the screen going on. There's some new leaks that came out from good old Jason Slama, the old Slama Lama Ding Dong himself. And I figured let's go just talk to it. I got nothing else to do in this place. As you can see, there's just all the comic books I own are on the wall. So, read them all already, and we're in day 6 of quarantine. So let's just discuss what these new abilities are and how I feel about them. So enough of my face, let's get to the nitty and the gritty. The first one that I want to get to is the new Skellige ability called Blaze of Glory. As you can see here, the order would be to move a Skellige unit from your deck to your graveyard, then damage an enemy unit by its power. Now, there is already a discard ability out there. There is already a skill or a leader ability out there pertaining to discard variants. So this is not necessarily something that's going to help you out in terms of a discard archetype or something that is sort of hovering around the general idea of discarding your deck or discarding cards to, push forward your strategy and winning rounds. This one here is more so to actually just sort of pick and choose one particular card that you do not want in the deck that is going to benefit you more so in the graveyard. Now, in the past, there are so many better or easier ways to make that happen. There are plenty of cards out there that allow you to discard cards, not only just one particular card, but pick and choose and whatnot. I don't think this ability is really all that fantastic, in all honesty, though it will have some ability to sort of just snipe one card out of your deck that you don't want to see, that you want to get out a little bit more reliably. So you'll always be able to find one card. The thing about it is that, finding that one opportunity to toss a card and get the kill that you need is going to be difficult, because you have to be making sure that you're getting an opportunity on your opponent's side to go ahead and damage the right unit for the right amount of damage so you're not necessarily losing any power. Obviously, the card that you're putting in the graveyard is going to have some significance. Cards like Morkvarg are the first one that comes to mind. It's a guaranteed 10 points that you're going to be using with this hero ability. Basically, you're going to be tossing a 5 damage Morkvarg out of your deck, and then he appears back onto the melee row, and that's all she wrote. Now, 5 damage directed is very good. Gets rid of a lot of engine pieces or order cards that really are problematic, like the Treant Boar or any of Nilfgaard's many different kinds of cards that come back to replay tactics or refresh your leader ability. I mean, this would probably be one of the targets you would want to have in your deck to build this. However, Utah is probably another one that you'd want. It's 12 damage that you're going to be looking at, and then resurrecting her with Sigrifa's Right in order to put her back on the board without any penalty. So all in all, I think that Blaze of Glory is pretty uninspiring and not all that fantastic. If I were to give it a grade, this is likely going to be in the, I'd say, C- territory. I have no grading criteria, but C-. All right, on to Syndicate now, and we've got Hidden Cash, wherein you get the Order ability of gaining 3 coins, just nice and clean. And on round start, you refresh this ability, so you're going to want to pretty much be maximizing this as much as possible. The other little passive ability is that your Horde abilities require 3 less coins to trigger. So you're getting a little discount on all those abilities. Now, how is this going to play out? Is Blood Money still going to be the top Syndicate choice for a faction that's not really seeing a whole lot of love right now? Again, this is all pertaining to the cards that we already know exist now on March 20th, when this all kind of leaked out most recently. But Horde cards out there like Saul is going to definitely be an auto include, but this Hidden Cash ability is pretty much going to revolve around, giving Syndicate kind of like an engine feel, where you want these Horde abilities, these passive Horde abilities, to trigger at a discount. Now, Saul would probably be one of those rally around cards that you'd want to protect, but that just means that it's going to be priority number 1 for removal, and people could easily just sort of detect that. But also, Vider and Lydia with the ability of hoarding 5, which would now be 2, which gaining 2 coins is not that hard at all, especially with the order ability to just gain 3 straight away. You're going to be damaging an enemy by 2 every turn. So you kind of have that ability to just go ahead and pick and choose and ping over time. The problem is, again, you're susceptible to locks, and you're susceptible to any type of movement, especially for Vider and Lydia. Now, is this a good ability? How would I sort of rate this? I mean, you're susceptible to any type of lockdown ability or locks on these characters, but I mean, that's pretty much the same for most other cards. You'd probably be looking to play, Cockstein or other types of cards to sort of purify and make sure that these cards will always be able to continue. But with the order ability of gaining 3 coins, you're going to be playing Saul for 6 and then 8 and then 10. So the ability to just create this engines going are going to make this an okay, I'd say probably a decent ability. I think Hidden Cache is pretty good. Gaining the 3 coins straight away every turn gives you that ability to not only just activate certain hoard and not only that, but tribute costs, but also to just generate points over time, which oftentimes is difficult for Syndicate to do, wherein they usually are looking for a spender card to go ahead and make use of excess coins. With this, however, you'll be able to at least generate points over time. I think that Hidden Cache, to me, is likely a B to B minus. We'll give it a B minus for a grade on Hidden Cache. Next up is Imposter for Nilfgaard. Nilfgaard has been getting a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but it's been in the crosshairs by the community and probably a little bit by the developers as well, because Nilfgaard has seemed to sort of hover around the top tier as being one of those factions that really disrupts the meta and just sort of sits there in the top and never really gets bounced out. It has its bad matchups, sure, but it also has a very strong presence on the ladder. Now here we have the Imposter ability. It is order, lock an enemy unit, then spawn its base copy in the opposite row and boost it by 2. This is a little bit crazy, and I think that this is going to supplant the future, this is going to supplant, current Nilfgaard decks as being the choice faction for many decks. And the reason being is because this Imposter ability has such a massive finisher. Enslave is still good. Lockdown can really kind of just, put the screws to certain people and really annoy them. But Imposter is going to be pretty nasty. Now, not just the lock that you have in your back pocket to sort of lock something down, but keep in mind that it is also a leader ability, meaning that you are granted an immediate follow-up by cards like, let's see here. You get an immediate follow-up by cards such as Vatier de Rideau, which is just, grab and yoink a card with a locked card and bring it to your side of the board. So in this case, basically, Vatier has an order associated with him. So you're going to have to kind of protect and play, but with the proper preparation of putting a defender down, playing Vatier, and then locking the card, you should be easy peasy. And in worst case is, if that's not going to work out for you, you always have Vanamar, which is deploy onto the range road to destroy a locked enemy unit. So you're getting your opponent's card at a bonus, which is a boost 2, and then you're immediately following up on that same turn without your opponent having the option to sort of protect it with Vanamar to just destroy it straight away. So I think that this is definitely going to be a major player in terms of abilities for Nilfgaard, a faction that already has several viable options to sort of cruise the ladder with. I'd give this a solid A. I think that Imposter is pretty darn good. Moving now to the Mahkum Forge. The Mahkum Forge is, you have an order, which is spawn and play Tempering, which boosts and gives a dwarf 2 armor. And also all dwarfs in your starting deck get 1 armor. So it's kind of a passive ability that just sort of just takes place as soon as you start the game. Every dwarf in your deck gets that 1 extra little ping of armor. Now, how helpful is armor? Well, in certain cases, it's very helpful because you are playing with either barricade on certain cards. For instance, the Dwarf Berserker is the first card, obviously, that comes to mind, wherein you are essentially just granting it an extra little piece of armor and going forth with that as it sort of pings itself away. Now, with the right combinations of cards, you can sort of generate more Dwarven Berserkers and just go forth and start pinging your way forward. But again, armor points do not contribute rather to your score. So winning rounds is going to relying on armor mechanics is, as it stands right now with the cards that currently exist before any future expansions are announced or cards are leaked, doesn't seem very viable. Of course, this might happen where we might see new cards that are going to have better barricade options, better dwarves. I know that Scoia'tael is looking to get a little bit of a revamp, so this might actually help. But nonetheless, the Dwarven Berserker is probably the focus rally around card at the moment, but Mahkum Forge, as it stands right now, does not seem all that fantastic. I'd give it a solid C. And it could more likely going to be a C-, but the C is purely because I'm hopeful that Scoia'tael, coupled with the announcement that dwarves are getting a little bit of a rebuild to focus around resilience and armor, I would imagine that this is probably going to be, that little glimmer of hope boosted from a C- to a C. Overwhelming Hunger from the Monster side, and I love Monster as a faction, and I've been dying for something a little bit new and delicious to kind of sink my teeth into from this faction. And the Overwhelming Hunger ability says, order, destroy an allied unit, then spawn an Echimera in its row and boost it by destroyed unit's power. Charge 3. So you have 3 instances of this, of spawning the Echimera and boosting. Now, obviously, the first thing you're thinking about is the Echimera, which is a vampire, so this has a little tiny bit of vampire flair to it, but at the same time, this is purely a Death Wish kind of, helper. Things that have Death Wish abilities is what you want to sort of pair this up with, and the first thing you want to look at is Dettlaff Higher Vampire. No longer do you have to drop in with Dettlaff Higher Vampire and then wait to play a Kayran, let's say, to go ahead and triple eat it. You can just drop the Dettlaff and then hit it 3 times with all 3 charges for Overwhelming Hunger, spreading out all those powers not into one unit, which Kayran would then be susceptible to a 1 card removal, but into 3 different units, 3 different 7 power Echimeras. So it's a pretty big power. Mixing this with other cards, for instance, like Maruna, or any other Death Wish card that is really going to give you a push, like the Plague Maiden, for instance. I believe that the Plague Maiden, if you drop it into a row and just eat it for that 1 charge and then follow up perhaps on a future turn, for instance, play Plague Maiden on a turn, and on the next turn, eat it with your Overwhelming Hunger ability, and then drop, let's say, a Glusty Warp to eat all those 1/1s on the board to really push the pace there. I think that is a possible combo as well. I think that Overwhelming Hunger is a fantastic ability. I would rate Overwhelming Hunger as an A-. I think that it's likely missing maybe a couple Death Wish cards to sort of really rally around, but I think that the core is there with Dettlaff Higher Vampire and other cards that can really sort of just, you could pair it up with and move forward with. Finally, we have Uprising. Now, Uprising to me is, well, the first thing that really shot out to me with Uprising is the fact that it is definitely, to me, a finisher card. And the reason being is that, first of all, let's just talk about the ability. The ability is order, boost an allied unit by 1, you have 4 charges. Also, once all charges are used up, spawn and play Illyrian Scytheman. Illyrian Scytheman says when you deploy it, boost it by 1 for each boosted allied unit. Now, this to me is purely a last play, a last say ability. What can you really do with this? the one boost an ally by 1. You want to play this at the end of a round when you have, a plethora of units on the board that are all boosted so that the Lyrian Scytheman can hit the board and you just get a massive finisher with it, where you have, let's say, 6 or 7 boosted units. You can go ahead and drop the extra boost to make sure that everybody is in the green, drop the Lyrian Scytheman as a last say, and hopefully follow it up with something else. Easy peasy, sounds good, go for it. The problem is that last say abilities means that you're possibly playing from behind in earlier rounds. You're at the mercy of other leaders that are going to be looking to maybe use their ability to push early round and then are able to sort of bleed you dry late game, because they know if you know that your opponent is hoarding their leader ability as a last say mechanic, it means that they are going to be trying to push and bleed you to get it out of you in rounds 2. So this is an ability that if you have to use it in round 1 or 2, you're already playing from behind, and it's not ideal. I think that this is not just a bad ability. I think that it's an ability that essentially just sort of telegraphs to your opponent how to play against it. So I'm going to give this one a D+. And the D+ is probably because you could most likely win big rounds late with it, but I still think that this is not good. Again, I don't think that Uprising is good, so we'll give it a D+. There it is. There's my initial assessment. Now, again, it's worth noting I am not a pro player. I am merely just me. And on my first initial reaction to these, this is what I said. Now, again, we don't know what cards are coming out with the new expansion and all that other stuff, so that everything may change. You never know. Everything might actually just turn itself around. But I'm excited to see what comes out. Again, we'll see. We don't know. And, please, if you have any ideas, if you disagree, if you agree, let me know in the comments, and I will be glad to discuss it either way. Thanks again for taking a gander at my video. It's nice to be back, I suppose. I don't know if I'm back. Regardless, I never really went anywhere, but things happen. Anyway, stay safe. Wash your goddamn hands, please. And please be safe. And I love you all.